Dear Mayor Lorna Marquardt and other members of the Shawano community. We have no idea what people from Samantaroy Institute of Science and Technology have to say, but we anonymous members of the Shawano community, whose voices you have so brutally repressed for so many years, will expose you for what you are. We will expose you for what you have done to innocent members of our community, and we will not stop until the world knows the destruction you have wreaked upon our town. Even after you're done being mayor, we will still work on exposing you. The damage you have caused us in the few long years you have been mayor is almost beyond repair. It will be years before the community can recover. We are rejoicing to see you go. We want everyone to know that you, Lorna Marquardt, are a dangerous, evil, satanic cult member who follows the teachings of your dangerous, evil, and satanic cult founder, Martin Luther. Your hatred for people who are not white Christians started to show even before you took office. Remember? In your meetings behind closed doors, you promised the racist and religious bigots in our community that you would drive the dothead back to his mud hut. Who were you talking about, Lorna? Let's be clear. You had it out for the founder of SIST from day one. You know that SIST is an international educational organization with a school in India that owns several businesses in our community, yet you, Lorna Marquardt, labeled it a cult. You knew from the start that SIST has nothing to do with religion, yet you have been the one working day and night with the media to propagate the myth that SIST is a religious cult. You are evil. You are dangerous. You are Hitler-like. Beyond that, you, Lorna Marquardt, are Martin Luther-like. Targeting someone because of their race or religion is very Hitler-like and Martin Luther-like. You have done everything in your power to destroy, not only SIST, but our entire community. In your mind, we are nothing but peasants, and any of us who've done our homework know what Luther said to do with us peasants. You said in an open letter that you were never given the opportunity to work with SIST, and you blamed it on SIST's actions towards you. You are once again trying to deceive us. You are a liar, and you are a fraud. Beyond that, you are dangerous and you are bloodthirsty. What about when SIST came to you with a number of beautifully classy architectural drawings of businesses they wanted to start? These same buildings that you are now claiming are blighted, SIST had magnificent plans for. The drawings for these buildings were displayed at your good friend Terry Hilgenberg's office. You, Lorna Marquardt, were asked to come and view the drawings and give your input. When you didn't show up, Terry Hilgenberg couldn't understand. Instead, you, Lorna Marquardt, pretended to not know what their plans were, and generated a false sense of fear in our community, a false fear of the unknown. You have done everything in your power to destroy SIST plans. Remember the meeting where you asked one of SIST personnel if they were going to purchase any more properties in Shawano? Let us help you recall your response. If you don't stop, we will do whatever is in our power to stop it. Remember when you tried to get everyone involved with SIST killed by devising your hit list scheme? When are you going to admit to the public that you, Lorna Marquardt, did that for racist and religiously bigoted reasons? When are you going to admit you did that for your own financial gain? When are you going to tell everyone how much your cut was from the $175,000 that you, working with Bob Cameron, defrauded from SIST? Speaking of money, should we Shawano taxpayers start demanding an audit into how much you have pilfered from us since you've been mayor? After all, everyone in town knows that you have a gambling addiction. Many in our community may be blind to what you have done, but don't think for a minute that we haven't been watching you. We know exactly what you're up to, and we know who you really are. Remember when you were invited as the guest of honor to the grand opening ceremony at USA International Raceway? The raceway had some of the top people in the racing industry at that event, Yet you, Lorna Marquardt, snubbed them, SIST, and our community by not showing up. You promised repeatedly that you would be there. Why didn't you show up? Why did you make our town look so ill-mannered and inept? Even though you had already shown your racist and religiously bigoted colors, SIST was ready to forget about that and move on. Was that not an opportunity to work with them? Remember when you attended the Town of Westcott Council meeting to complain about the go-kart noise, and to file for a noise ordinance change? You know full well you couldn't even hear the go-karts a quarter mile down the road, and you don't even live in Westcott. What business did you have there? Has any noise ordinance ever been filed against the Shawano Raceway during the Nights of Thunder, just a few blocks from your own house? Don't you think that you showing up at a Westcott meeting was unfair treatment based on religious bigotry and racism? Remember when you contacted a US Air lender? Do you remember your conversation about rain gear at City Hall? Or was there more to it? What motive do you have in contacting SIST lenders in the first place? Do you contact other local businesses' lenders? You had issues when being questioned during a deposition about jurisdiction. If that is the case, then how do you have anything to do with US Air at all? It is in the town of Westcott, not Shawano. How is that considered working with SIST? You, Lorna Marquardt, are a liar and a fraud. Speaking of jurisdiction, how is it Shawano police assisted two Shawano County deputies in harassing US Air employees when they were strong-arming the property and giving it to Steve Kreuger? Please tell us, in what way were you working with SIST? Come on Lorna Marquardt, admit it. Just like your cult founder, Martin Luther, you have been lying to everyone in our community. Remember when you sent the highway department out to put up no parking signs during one of the biggest US Air races of 2006? Remember when you sent the deputies out to ticket hundreds of racers? You were very upset that SIST put Shawano on the world map. The race that weekend had people from all over the world, and you treated our international visitors, who brought millions of dollars to our community that weekend, like common criminals. Now that SIST no longer owns the property, you told the highway department to take them down. What about that, Lorna? Or how about the ordinance you specifically created targeting SIST parking plans for overflow parking from their events? What was your purpose in that? How were you working with SIST? Remember when there was a drive-by shooting at the Spirit of the Northwood store in 2006? Who sent them, Lorna Marquardt? Remember the bombing at SIST headquarters in 2002? Why did you downplay those events? You have pretended that you are scared of SIST, yet you and your husband drove by shortly after the bomb went off. Obviously you knew about it. Now, you have ordered the destruction of the evidence of those crimes. All of the evidence has disappeared. Come on Lorna. When are you going to admit that you ordered the bombing? Why are you now hiding the evidence? Remember the Kiryat. You would send your police officers in to break up private parties on a regular basis. What about sending your officers to take down guests' license plates and then calling the guests telling them not to stay at the Kiryat? What about sending your officer to stop guests as they left the Kiryat parking lot? What about not giving Kiryat liquor licenses? Most people consider this to be business interference and harassment. Do you call this working with SIST? You, Lorna Marquardt, are a liar and a fraud. What about sending the health inspector to shut the Kiryat restaurant down? Demanding a 6-page list of corrections. The previous owners didn't even have inspections. Yet you, Lorna Marquardt, ordered the inspector out the first week SIST owned the property. And then there are taxes. Lorna, What about the time you demanded SIST pay $200,000 of property taxes in cash? Do you call that working with SIST? Even the president of M&I Bank called you personally and offered to wire the money directly to the city's account. You denied the request and demanded that SIST bring in cash. Then, of course, since it was cash, you pretended to be concerned about a security issue, yet you are the one who created the problem in the first place. You did it again in 2010, only that time with $500,000. And why were you even asking for that amount in cash in the first place, Lorna? Have you ever demanded that kind of cash from any other business owner in the area? You have been messing with SIST taxes since you took office. Another example is the Marquardt property taxes. When SIST owned the Marquardt, taxes were around $80,000 a year. Now your right-hand person Tony Zielinski owns it and they plummeted to $20,000 a year. This is all public record, Lorna Marquardt. How do you explain that away? And then there was the false 9/11 call. 3 Shawano police officers showed up at the Marquardt claiming that someone had called 9/11 with children screaming in the background. The phone number from which the 9/11 call was made, however, was not the hotel's number and there were no guests with children staying in the hotel at that time. Despite that, 3 police officers acting as Gestapo stormed through the hotel, nearly knocking guests off their feet in their mad rush through it in the middle of the night. What was the purpose? To disturb guests and scare business away from SIST? How about when you told the Chamber of Commerce to remove all SIST businesses from their directory? Is that considered working with SIST? You sit on the board at Shawano Municipal Utilities. You have used your position to order people out to change electric meters out that read more electricity usage than what is actually being used. This has cost SIST hundreds of thousands of dollars over the years. What about that, Lorna Marquardt? And you call that working with SIST? Remember 153 South Main Street? The property that was a renovation in progress. Beautiful new windows were installed, upgrading the exterior appearance. After more financial distress, this property was stolen during another prejudiced legal battle, 4 pennies on the dollar. A year later the owner was given a $140,000 low-interest loan and a $60,000 grant from the city. Why didn't you ever approach SIST with this kind of generous offer? Remember when your right-hand person, Tony Zielinski, stole the property where retail lumber is located after SIST paid $198,000 for it? You were behind that as well, Lorna Marquardt, weren't you? Remember, this is all public record. Remember the city's water main breaks that caused thousands of dollars in damage to several SIST properties, filling their basements with water? That was your responsibility to fix it. Did you ever approach SIST about the destruction you caused? Lorna, you were also behind the mass number of drive-offs at the gas stations owned by SIST. You also ordered your officers to pull cars over whenever possible to block or hinder customers from entering the gas station. And the harassment continues towards the businesses that SIST still owns. You have people working full-time to accomplish your plans, like using the local cell phone tower to tap phone lines and local media as your propaganda mouthpiece. Stop trying to deceive everyone with your pathetic little newspaper articles. You, and everyone else in our community, know that the damage you have caused our community is almost irreparable. You have spent over a decade viciously attacking SIST to hurt that educational organization financially, and trying to get everyone involved with them killed. If you had done that to any other business organization in our town, Lorna Marquardt, how many decades would it take for them to recover? Let's be realistic here. Unless you plan on forking over the millions of dollars you personally owe SIST for the damage you have caused them, and the millions of dollars you cost our city during your hitless smear campaign, don't call this a clean slate. You have killed our town.